In the world of the internet, Facebook and Wikipedia are two major entities, the content of which is created by consumers and consumed by creators. So we have Facebook. You upload content to Facebook, you share it, you like it among your friends. And then we have Wikipedia, the content of which you upload and you edit, and it's ultimately consumed by the world. So what these maps show us is that content consumers are now the content creators. And it wasn't always like this. There used to be a divide between the two. Now, digital media has blurred this line. And with digital media, we can become both of them, content consumers and content creators, through technology like mobile devices, desktops, laptops, and tablets. And it's through these screens that we are able to experience the world. And we're able to access the world and interact with one another, because our generation loves to interact. It's no longer enough to just read or watch or even listen. Like right now, are you guys only listening? Twitter says otherwise. This is all the interactions that's been going on with the event. And when we were practicing, I couldn't see anyone in the audience, and now I can see all of you on your phones. Tweet me. But it proves my next point, is that we are gatherers and interpreters and producers of content. Citizen journalism. It's not a new term, but digital media has made it more important than ever. So like I said before with content creators and content consumers, you have citizens and you have journalists. And there's a wall between the two. Now the digital wall is thin. So what are we noticing here? That digital media is coming in and bringing aspects together, content consumers, content creators, citizens, and journalists. And it's really just helping us move forward. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware of what's going on with newspapers. So I'm going to read off a couple of headlines that may seem a little shocking. I think they're a little ridiculous, but is the death of the newspaper the end of good citizenship? The year the newspaper died. Chronicling the death of the American newspaper. And my personal favorite is their life after newspapers. Well, I'm Kristen Hinton, and this is Prentiss Darden, and we are Create Lab.
Create Lab is a group of 8 students from across LSU as part of the Manship School of Mass Communications Digital Media Initiative. We were chosen to come up with digital solutions for a real-world client. Our first client is the Times-Picayune. And as most of you in the audience probably know, the Times-Pic has gone through some changes recently. From printing a daily newspaper to only printing 3 times a week, they've had to figure out how to solve the issues of maintaining their readership and maintaining their high quality of standards. This is where we come in. Our solution is Watson. Watson is a crowdsourced news app to be used by journalists, citizen journalists, and editors.
But before we can really delve into what Watson is, I think we need to address that last headline. Is there a life after newspapers? Well, Create Lab says yes, absolutely. But what will these newspapers be called? What will newspapers look like? Because newspapers are evolving, and it starts now. Because Times-Picayune was one of the first major metropolitan newspapers to cut back on printing. And people were heartbroken. They were pissed off. One person said, "To think of not having a daily print edition saddens me." Another, "I'm furious on top of being completely shocked." It doesn't have to be this way, though, because in a low moment in an industry or in life in general, it's where these low moments is where opportunity comes forth and technology is created and jobs are formed. So what Create Lab has done is that instead of focusing on loss, we're honing in on these possibilities and opportunities. Possibilities and opportunities with big data, mapping, user-generated content, and ultimately, citizen journalism. So, Create Lab says that instead of competing with all this information that we've created, we channel it.
we introduce you to Watson. Watson is a location-oriented, crowdsourced news platform. You know how it is. You want to follow a breaking story, and you end up going in search of multiple news sites to get the full story. Well, with Watson, you can receive updates to one location throughout the day from a variety of sources. A citizen journalist would use Watson to capture newsworthy events he sees happening. He uses the mobile app to do this. He enters a headline, he selects a location, and he types in a short story. If he wants to take a photograph or film a video, he can do that and include it in the article. Watson also works for professional journalists. A journalist is on location, and she wants to upload a story to the news website right away. Well, she can do this with Watson. She opens the app, she enters similar information as a citizen journalist, she can select a photo or take a new one, and she types in a short story. Now it's ready to upload. Meanwhile, there are editors who have access to the content. They'll have full access to a constant feed of Watson updates. And editors of the Times-Picayune and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the New York Times, and the Guardian, they can filter through this large volume of crowdsourced data using features such as tags, categories, date. There's even a mapping feature that allows them to look at locations of stories. So the stories would be displayed by location. And so they can use this as a tool to hone in on a breaking story. So in short, Watson allows editors to pull from a vast amount of crowdsourced data and to discover within it trending tips and trending stories. They can find out what their readers are interested in knowing more about, and then they will feature it via their website or their mobile apps as a Watson update. Watson promotes up-to-the-minute journalism, and it streamlines the process of news getting out to the world. In 2006, the Times-Pic won a Pulitzer Prize for their coverage of Hurricane Katrina. They were actually here at LSU. They brought up their newspaper staff, and they continued to cover the storm while they were here. The thing is that there was a disconnect. The people who really needed help weren't able to get in touch with the reporters. And so people, being naturally adaptable, started using message boards of NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune's online news site. People had questions and they needed answers. They wanted to know where their families were. They wanted to know what the damage was like to their homes and to their neighborhoods. They wanted to know if schools were open, if there was still water standing. They wanted to know when they could go back to work. The message boards became the primary means of communication during Hurricane Katrina. And this goes to show that in a state of emergency, during the city's lowest moments, people were reaching out to each other via digital media to share news. Imagine if Watson had been there during Hurricane Katrina. Imagine the people who stayed in the city. They would be able to take photos and video and write short updates and upload it to Watson. People who were displaced to places like Houston, other parts of Louisiana, other parts of the entire country, they would be able to look at these updates. They would be able to look at the map and zone in on their neighborhood and see what was happening. It's this type of communication, this fluidity of communication that Watson provides that would change the way that these challenging situations happen.
So, from times of crisis like Hurricane Katrina to everyday situation, we need a free flow of information to improve communication. And we absolutely have that. We have so much of it. So what Watson offers is a way to organize it and to streamline it. It also offers people credible voices and an outlet for citizen journalism. So in the future, we hope that Watson will become such a respected resource that you'll want to put your Watson profile on your resume and bring it up in an interview. It'll kind of act like a LinkedIn profile, but for citizen journalists. And when we sat down and we were developing this app with the Create Lab, it was for Times-Picayune, but we developed it so that it could transfer to any news organization in the country and ultimately the world.
So essentially, Watson bridges the gap between citizen journalists and professional news publications by organizing crowdsourced content through moderation and geolocation. Watson cultivates new ground in the landscape of digital journalism, not only for the consumers of news, but for the new breed of content creators that has emerged. There's been a line between consumers and creators, but that line is now blurring. But we believe that this shouldn't affect the quality of news. And to this end, Watson offers a way to organize the crowd and get the news out to the public.
Thank you.
Thank you.